Well, hello, sister travelers. Nothing is worse than having your digital data compromised while traveling. Well, in today's episode, I'm going to discuss how to keep that information safe while you're traveling. Listen in. Welcome to Solo Travel Adventures for women 50 and older. I'm Cheryl Esch, your host, solo travel advocate, freedom traveler, and coach. This is your passport to adventure. Well, I have been fortunate enough to not have anything serious happen where I've had my data compromised or something stolen or my credit card having fraudulent activity or losing something while I'm traveling. I'm very grateful for that, but I have heard horror stories but I have had, fraudulent activity on, say, credit cards while I'm at home. And we all know that that can be a bit of a pain dealing with even in your hometown. Can you imagine having to deal with anything like that while traveling in a foreign country? So it's even more important that we keep our digital data safe while we're traveling. It's just a big headache to deal with in itself, let alone having to maybe deal with international calls or just figuring out who to call even sometimes can be a challenge if your digital data has been compromised. And so I'm going to give you a couple places to really be aware of where you could be compromised. And one of the first places, I'm sure you are aware of this, is free Wi-Fi. Don't ever use free Wi-Fi, and especially not in the airport. I know we like to, especially if you're trying to not use your data while you're traveling on your phone. And so you are, at the whim of having to use Wi-Fi wherever you go. If you have to use Wi-Fi, make sure it requires a password. For example, many hotels, some will have a free Wi-Fi connection, but some will also have a secure one where it does require a password. There are even some that may require you to pay to have the secured Wi-Fi. So just keep that in mind and do not use the free Wi-Fi. It's just very easy access to your data. Any hacker could, especially if they're close radius, right? So do not use free Wi-Fi, especially not in the airport. I don't use that stuff in the airport. I end up just using my data. And then if I do use Wi-Fi, I do try to make sure it is a password required Wi-Fi. Even in those cafes, you do want to be careful of having that open, that network open to your data on your phone or on your computer, whatever you're using with that free Wi-Fi. Number 2, do not use public USB ports. Now, this is a big one because we see them, especially in the airports, and you want to use it to maybe charge your phone real quick before you hop on a international or long haul flight. However, these public USB ports, it's possible for hackers to install malware in them to get access to your information. A better solution is to either you have a battery power bank that you could charge your device with, or if you use an actual outlet plug is going to be a better option there instead of using the USB ports. So just be aware of that. I know we get to our battery is almost dead and we only have that USB port. Just think about it before you maybe do it or think of alternatives for yourself. The other thing is you could possibly use that USB port to charge your power bank, and that would be okay versus your actual phone where they could actually somehow get into the hackers can get in and see your information, your data. So, and if you're like me, maybe you have a Google account and maybe that's where you keep a lot of your personal information, maybe passwords, that kind of stuff. That would be accessible to them if they had the malware to hack into your phone. So something to think about. Number 3, just be aware of your surroundings while you're using your device. As we know, especially if you're traveling as a solo woman, that we want to do that anyways. We don't want somebody looking over our shoulder, whether it's reading an email or reading a map of where we might be going. So just making sure you're aware of your surroundings while you're using your device. Number 4, as I kind of just briefly mentioned, keep copies of your ID, passport, and credit cards handy. Again, if that ever got, in the wrong hands that you actually had, I personally like to keep paper copies somewhere when I travel, especially like a picture of my passport, driver's license, and even I wouldn't keep a copy of my credit card, but I definitely keeping, the number to call in case something would happen with that credit card. So sometimes going back to old school paper and, hiding it or keeping it somewhere is sometimes safer, possibly. So and that's number 4. And number 5, you may consider if you plan to use your phone or laptop while you're traveling. One way to keep your internet usage safe is to use a VPN. So a VPN, if you're not familiar, is a virtual private network in which, again, you have a login, you have a password, and you can even scramble where you are kind of using that internet connection from. And that way it makes it harder for hackers to actually, locate where you really are and get your information. So maybe a VPN is the way to go. So I hope this helps keep your digital information safe while you're traveling. I would hate to see anybody get caught in another country with all that information compromised. Maybe you couldn't even use your phone, or they've hacked into your credit cards that you are using for your travels. So keeping that stuff safe is important. Hey, sister travelers, did this podcast inspire and encourage you or move you to get out there and travel? Wonderful. There are 3 ways you can thank me. First one is leave a written review for the show on Apple Podcast. 2, share the show with your sister travelers, your friends, your family. And 3, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And thank you again for listening to the show. Sisters, be fearless, take the leap, and get out there and have an adventure.